Using Ahrefs, outsourcing SEO research. Why Ahrefs for SEO research is a sales lever in 2025. B2B buyers don't wait for an SDR to explain the category anymore. They search, compare, and shortlist vendors before they ever respond to outreach. Organic search drives roughly 53% of website traffic, which means your market's first impression is often a Google results page, not a cold email. When we treat SEO research as revenue intelligence, we get better targeting, sharper messaging, and warmer conversations. Ahrefs is one of the fastest ways to see what your buyers are actually researching, the problems they're typing into Google, the competitors they're evaluating, and the pages shaping their expectations. The catch is that Ahrefs is deep, and most revenue teams don't have the time or desire to become power users. That's why outsourcing the heavy research work is often the cleanest path to use Ahrefs effectively without creating a new internal role. In this article, we're going to map out how to outsource Ahrefs-driven SEO research in a way that directly supports outbound prospecting. The goal isn't more dashboards, it's more pipeline, using SEO insights to improve list quality, email angles, cold calling talk tracks, and follow-up cadences across your outbound sales agency motion. What buyers learn in search shapes your win rate before outreach starts. Search is where buyer context is built. Research indicates 81% of B2B buyers begin their purchase journey with Google, and they're often 57 to 70% through their research before they contact sales. If your positioning, proof, and differentiation aren't showing up in those early searches, your team is frequently walking into calls as the late-stage contender. This is why SEO and outbound can't live in separate universes. When marketing runs Ahrefs in isolation, SDRs miss the exact questions, comparisons, and competitor narratives prospects are already consuming, which leads to generic messaging and lower conversion from impression to opportunity. The upside is just as real. When your cold email agency messaging mirrors the language buyers use in search, it reads like relevance instead of interruption. Ahrefs is built for this kind of market intel. It shows which pages dominate the SERP for your category terms, which competitor assets are earning links and trust, and which topics map to buying intent. When we translate that into sales-ready outputs, we get a practical advantage that doesn't require our reps to learn SEO. They just need better inputs. Why outsourcing Ahrefs research beats buying seats for the sales team. Ahrefs is widely adopted by specialists for a reason. 82% of SEO professionals say it's part of their weekly routine, and 59% rank it as the best all-in-one SEO tool. That's exactly why outsourcing works. If your partner lives in Ahrefs daily, you're paying for judgment and speed, not just access to filters and charts. From a cost standpoint, outsourcing the research layer is usually simpler than hiring in-house. In 2025, many SEO retainers land around $1,500 to $5,000 per month, and the average monthly retainer is about $2,819. For most B2B teams, that's materially cheaper than a fully loaded SEO hire, especially if your primary need is recurring keyword, competitor, and content gap intelligence that can feed an outsourced sales team or internal SDR pod. The common trap is thinking more tools equals more performance. In practice, most SDRs and AEs won't become Ahrefs power users. They'll open it a few times, get lost in metrics, and revert to business as usual. The better model is to keep the tool with specialists and require sales-friendly outputs that your cold calling services and outreach workflows can use immediately. The deliverables that turn SEO research into outbound execution. If you outsource SEO research, the scope has to be written for revenue outcomes, not rankings and long reports. Ask for a tight set of deliverables that translate Ahrefs data into what your sales org actually needs. Keyword clusters by intent and persona, SERP intent notes that explain what buyers expect to see, content gap priorities tied to objections, and competitor intelligence that turns into talk tracks. To make the work usable across a B2B sales agency motion, we recommend forcing every Ahrefs insight to answer one question: what should a rep do differently this week? That could mean changing a subject line to match buyer language, shifting your list building filters toward industries searching for your core pain, or updating a call opener to reflect the comparison terms showing up on page 1. A simple framework helps keep everyone aligned, including marketing, RevOps, and your SDR agency partners. If your SEO research doesn't change what your reps say and who they target, it isn't research, it's just reporting. How we wire Ahrefs insights into sequences, scripts, and lists. The fastest win is messaging alignment. When Ahrefs shows buyers searching alternatives, pricing, reviews, or competitor versus category, those aren't just content opportunities, they're outbound hooks. We use that language to shape subject lines, first-line personalization, and call openers, so the outreach feels like it's continuing a conversation the buyer is already having in their head. The second win is list precision. SEO research reveals where demand is concentrated, by industry, use case, and even the features prospects care about. That helps us refine B2B list-building services and prospecting filters, so your outreach goes to accounts more likely to be in-market, not just ICP on paper. When that targeting is paired with consistent multi-channel execution, your cold calling team spends more time in qualified conversations. This is where SalesHive fits naturally alongside an outsourced SEO researcher. While your partner mines Ahrefs for keyword, SERP, and competitor intel, we turn those insights into outbound campaigns using cold email and cold calling services, supported by our process, personalization tooling, and operational rhythm. In other words, SEO research becomes the strategy layer, and we provide the day-to-day sales outsourcing execution that converts demand into meetings. Common mistakes that quietly kill ROI, and how to fix them. The most expensive mistake is treating SEO and outbound as separate systems with separate goals. When the SEO partner reports traffic and rankings, and sales reports meetings booked, nobody owns the translation layer, and the company loses twice. Inbound is under-leveraged, and outbound stays generic. The fix is operational, not theoretical. Require your outsourced SEO partner to present the handful of Ahrefs insights that matter in revenue meetings. Then, map them directly to templates, talk tracks, and objection handling. Another common misstep is paying for tool access instead of expertise. Buying additional Ahrefs seats for an outsourced B2B sales team sounds empowering, but it usually creates confusion and low adoption. Keep Ahrefs with specialists and insist on 1 to 2 page rep-ready summaries that highlight what to say, who to target, and which competitors are winning which narratives. Finally, teams often chase search volume without respecting intent. High-volume keywords are frequently top of funnel and won't translate into pipeline, which can flood follow-up sequences with the wrong content and the wrong expectations. Ask your provider to prioritize intent and commercial value, and remember that a smaller pool of comparison and transactional terms can outperform a giant spreadsheet of loosely related topics. Optimization moves that separate outsourced SEO from a revenue system. Once the basics are in place, the next level is building a tight refresh cadence. Buyers' questions change, competitors publish new pages, and SERPs shift. So treat Ahrefs research as a recurring input, not a one-time project. A monthly refresh of top competitor pages, newly ranking topics, and emerging comparison terms keeps your outbound sales agency messaging current instead of stale. You can also use Ahrefs insights to sharpen account selection. When you see clusters tied to a specific vertical, lead generation for X, compliance requirement, or integration, you can prioritize segments where intent is rising and deprioritize segments that are browsing casually. This is especially useful for teams running B2B cold calling services where time to conversation matters and focus drives efficiency. Lastly, measure what matters to revenue, not vanity metrics. Track which Ahrefs-derived themes lead to higher reply rates, more booked meetings, and faster stage progression. And feed that back to your research partner. When SEO research, list building, and messaging iteration run in a loop, the system compounds. What to do next? A simple rollout plan for sales and marketing. Start by aligning on the premise that SEO is already influencing your pipeline. With 88% of B2B marketers investing in SEO, your competitors are actively shaping the SERP narratives your prospects consume, whether you participate or not. Your first step is to define sales-ready deliverables from your outsourced Ahrefs partner. Then set a recurring review where those insights translate into messaging and targeting updates. From there, pick a small number of high-intent themes, especially comparison, alternatives, pricing, and best queries, and build outbound around them. This is where a B2B sales agency or SDR agency partner can move faster than a purely internal team. Research turns into new sequences, new talk tracks, and new segmentation within days, not quarters. If you want the cleanest version of this model, keep Ahrefs research with specialists and keep execution with a team that books meetings. We built SalesHive to operate in that lane, turning real buyer intent into cold email, B2B cold calling, and follow-up systems that create pipeline. The best next step is to audit your current SEO to outbound handoff and tighten it until every Ahrefs insight has a clear sales action attached.